Hey, how you doing, YouTubers? I wanted to make a video on these Brad's cut plugs, okay, and how to rig these. Um, I usually buy the 2-packs. It's a better deal, I believe. They cost $8.99 where I live for a 2-pack. A single pack would cost me about $7.50. So for $1.50 more, I get an extra cut plug, which is great because a lot of times I'm running 2 rods and I want to use the same color on both. Um, and the rigging that they come with, if you buy the single packs that are pre-rigged, I don't like it personally. They use a 40-pound test. The hooks they use I don't care for. So I end up tearing them apart and re-rigging them anyways. So a 2-pack saves you a lot of money. But rigging them, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So I'm going to show you my way, okay? The things I use. I will use 30-pound tests, okay? That's what I like to use. Beads. I will end up using some beads, 4mm beads. I like to use the Big River hooks, 4/0. You can use a Swivels hook. I like these. I like that little kind of crook in there. I think it helps keep it in the fish's mouth better. I use these P-line roller swivels, the size 3. Okay. I use these owner split rings, size 4. The Brad's bead chains. And of course the cut plug. Now, some people might argue and say a treble hook is better. These treble hooks, this is what one of my fishing buddies uses. I prefer the Swivels hook. We both catch about the same amount of fish. I don't notice a significant difference between him or myself, but one of the things I do like is, number one, the Swivels hooks are easier to manage in my tackle box. They're not getting tangled up as easily. And number two, they're cheaper. So why spend more if it's not working better? Also, I've had a lot of times where I hook into a salmon and that Swivels hook or Big River hook will actually go in its mouth and come out somewhere in its head. I mean, they really sink in deep. So I think that they are the ticket. So let me get into rigging them. I will generally pull off a piece of line. I make mine 3 feet long. My leader's 3 feet long based on, I kind of know what I have out there as far as my bumper length for my flashers and everything else, and my rod length. If I made this more than 3 feet long, it would just be too much to manage. Anything less, I think, is just, it's a little too short. So the way I rig these, I get my line, okay? I'm going to run the bead into the line. And now, when you run the line through these cut plugs, if you try to run it in from the front hole, it's very hard to get it to come out this bottom hole, okay? It's a lot easier to put it in the bottom hole first and have it come out the front. So this bead, okay, is going to sit right up against here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take off this rubber band. I will run my line. Come on. Through there, okay, through that little ridge. And then I've heard people call this thing the hook garage. I've seen some people rig it with a treble hook in there. I don't put anything in there. I just run my line through there, real easy, okay? Then the line's gonna come through this little hole and it easily comes out the front, okay? So on this side, that's gonna tie to my spreader or swivel or whatever else I am tying to. In my case, I usually use a spreader. Is where I use the ball bearing swivel. Okay, I'll tie that on using a palomar. If you have a different preference in knots, that's fine. I like to use a palomar because everything I've read about them, they seem to be strong, they work well, they're easy to tie. I've never had one come out on me. I've never had one break on me. So, if you do not know how to tie a palomar, I am not going to teach you now. There's lots of videos on it. It's a pretty straightforward knot, and if you fish, I highly suggest that you learn it. It's a pretty handy knot. All right. Okay. Clip that little tag in there. Okay. Now at this point, I have my swivel. Comes into there, my little bead, okay? Now I'm going to take the rubber band that came with the Brad's cut plug. I'm going to slide it down my line. I've seen some people rig these where they do not have the line going through the rubber band, they have it just dangling. As it comes out here, it'll just kind of dangle. I like to run it underneath there, keep it all nice and tight. There's lots of ways to rig these, so whatever way works for you is fine. I'm not going to debate with people about which is better. Okay. All right, so I measure out 36 inches. Now, before the video, I kind of set up a hook on a bead chain with a split ring already, okay? So I got that already set up. Usually you'd have to do that at this point. You'd probably just tie this bead chain onto here and then add the split ring and then the hook last. I already have it all set up. So I know when I tie the knot, it's not going to be exactly 36 inches. Now I might be off by an inch or two. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal if you're off by an inch or two. Don't trip. When you see people describing different setups and okay, this leader has to be 24 inches or 26 inches or, you know, if you're off by an inch or two, it's not a big difference, okay? Obviously, if you're talking about an 8-inch leader and you go 12 inches, that might be a big difference. But for something like this, a couple inches difference is not going to matter, okay? All right, clip the tag in. Now, I am going to pull this all up snug, okay? Now, this is my setup, okay? The bead is just there to protect my knot here, okay? I use a glow bead. You can use whatever you want. I like this setup with the Brad's bead chain here. I feel that if that salmon's thrashing around, it's got a lot of just movement there. That salmon can twist, turn. It's not going to tangle up. It's not going to have anything to get leverage on. Okay. It also sets my hook back a little bit from the lure. This setup works really good for me. All right. So one more setup. I'm sure you've probably seen others on the internet, and this is just one of many, but I feel it's a good one. All right. Good luck out there.